So, today we're going to dig into the work of Napoleon Hill, one of the most influential self-help authors ever. But his philosophy is kind of this double-edged sword. On one hand, it's a powerful guide to getting what you want, for sure. But on the other, it's a pretty stark warning. A warning about these invisible forces that can keep you stuck. All right, let's dive in. But first, let me ask you something, and really think about it. Look at your day-to-day life. Are you making conscious choices? Or are you, just going through the motions? Are you the one steering the ship, or are you just letting the currents of circumstance pull you wherever? It's a huge question, and honestly, the answer is at the very heart of everything we're about to unpack. So, that whole autopilot thing we just talked about, well, Napoleon Hill had a really strong take on this. He argued that not making a choice is a choice in itself, and he gave this state of being a name, one he considered the single biggest enemy of personal freedom. He called it drifting. Okay, so what is drifting really? Well, it's basically when you stop thinking for yourself. You're just reacting to stuff that happens to you instead of actually acting with any kind of purpose. It's when your unexamined habits, your environment, even what other people think, they all start calling the shots for you. It's a completely passive way to live. You're a passenger in your own life. And here's where it gets kind of spooky. Hill discovered something pretty chilling in all his research. He found that a person who's just drifting, someone who doesn't really think or plan for themselves, well, that person becomes incredibly easy to influence, easy to manipulate, easy to control. This is the real danger he was trying to warn everyone about. So, how does this happen? How do people get locked in this state? Hill pointed to 4 main tools. You've got fear, which stops you before you even start. Then there's procrastination, which keeps you from ever starting. Indecision, that just leaves you paralyzed, stuck right where you are. And of course, negative habits, which lock you into this cycle that just defeats you over and over again. But here's the kicker. Hill's big insight was that these aren't just parts of your personality. No, he saw them as external forces, tools used to keep you from reaching your own potential. Okay, so if drifting is the problem, who figured out the solution? Well, that brings us right to the man himself, Napoleon Hill, and this absolutely massive investigation he undertook to decode the very nature of success. And you gotta understand, this wasn't just some book he cooked up over a weekend. Hill dedicated a huge chunk of his life to one single massive question. Is success just an accident, or is there a formula, a repeatable blueprint that anyone, and he meant anyone, could follow? I mean, the sheer scale of this project was just incredible. It all started with a challenge from the industrialist Andrew Carnegie, and for the next 20-plus years, Hill went on to interview over 500 of the most successful people of his era. We're talking about giants like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, even presidents like Theodore Roosevelt. And what came out of all that work? He called it the philosophy of achievement. And if you want to boil it all down to one single idea, it's this quote right here. He concluded that success wasn't really about luck or where you came from or even just raw talent. Nope, it all started and ended in one place, your mind. And this is so crucial. His point was that your thoughts don't just reflect your reality, they actually create it. So that brings us to the antidote. If drifting is the sickness, then Hill's philosophy of achievement is absolutely the cure. He laid out this incredibly direct, actionable blueprint for taking back the controls of your life. He basically broke it down into this simple 3-step architecture. First, he said it's not enough to just want something. You have to start with a burning desire, something that just consumes you. Second, you have to feed that desire with an unwavering belief, like a deep, powerful faith that you can and you will make it happen. And finally, you have to back it all up with relentless, persistent action. You gotta do the work. And that last part, persistence, is so important. Hill was crystal clear about this. He saw failure as just a temporary detour, not a dead end. It's a chance to learn something, adjust your plan, and try again. The only thing that makes failure permanent, the only real failure in his eyes, is when you decide to quit. So this brings us full circle, right back to that first question. Here are the 2 paths laid out plain as day. You've got the drifter on one side, passive, reactive, easily controlled, and on the other you have the thinker, intentional, decisive, and free. According to Hill, you are always on one of these 2 paths, so the question is, which one are you choosing right now, in this moment? And you know what? That's the most empowering part of this whole thing. It really doesn't matter what's happened to you in the past. All that matters is the choice you can make right now to take back control of your own mind. Because for Hill, freedom was a much bigger idea than just having a lot of money. Real freedom to him was the whole package: mental clarity, emotional stability, and yeah, financial independence too. And the key to unlocking all of that isn't some big secret. It's just the daily practice of self-discipline combined with having a crystal clear purpose. All right, so let's do a quick recap of the big takeaways here. First, drifting is just living on autopilot, and that leaves you vulnerable. Second, real freedom? That comes from thinking for yourself. Third, and this is huge, remember that fear and procrastination aren't who you are. They're just tools you can choose to put down. Fourth, a clear purpose with discipline will beat aimless talent every single time. And finally, persistence. That's the one non-negotiable trait that separates lasting success from temporary failure. We'll end on this one last powerful thought from Hill. He's saying this isn't just about achieving more. It's about actually truly living. And so the question he leaves us with is a profound one. Have you started thinking for yourself yet? Or to put it another way, have you really begun to live?